The notification pinged at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, and like an idiot, I checked it. My wife Cassandra had been at a spa retreat for her 35th birthday weekend, or so she'd told me 3 days ago when she kissed my cheek with all the warmth of a rotten fish and wheeled her designer suitcase out our front door. "Just need some me time, Julian," she'd said, not meeting my eyes. "You understand, right? All this real estate stress is eliminating me." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'm Julian Albright, 38 years old, software engineer for a mid-sized tech company in Seattle. I write code that makes rich people's apps run faster, and I'm apparently married to a woman who thinks I'm too stupid to use Instagram. The notification was from Tiffany Brooks, Cassandra's best friend since college. Tiffany's the kind of person who documents every meal, every outfit, every thought that crosses her surgically enhanced brain. Her story showed a champagne flute against silk sheets, tagged at the Zenith Resort. Definitely not a spa. The next slide made me freeze. Cassandra, laughing in a black cocktail dress I'd never seen, her arm around a man who definitely wasn't me. Derek Caldwell. I recognized him from Cassandra's real estate office Christmas party. Tall, artificially tanned with the kind of smile that screams, "I sell overpriced condos to tech bros." He worked for a competing agency and had spent that entire party making jokes about my cute little programmer job while eyeing my wife like she was a commission check. The third slide showed 4 people, Cassandra, Derek, Tiffany, and some other guy, raising glasses in what looked like a hotel suite. The caption read, "When your girl finally embraces her independence." I screenshot everything before the stories could disappear, my hands shaking slightly. Not from heartbreak. That would come later. This was pure, concentrated rage mixed with the kind of clarity that only comes when someone you trusted decides you're an idiot. I sat in our king-sized bed, surrounded by the life we'd built together over 8 years of marriage, and started planning. Because here's the thing about software engineers. We're really, really good at solving problems methodically, and my wife had just become a problem that needed solving. The next morning, I made coffee like nothing had happened. When Cassandra texted me at 9 a.m., "Having amazing time. Spa treatments are incredible. Love you." I responded with a simple heart emoji. Let her think I was buying it. I called in sick to work and spent the day doing research. The Zenith Resort charges $800 a night for their basic suites. Cassandra's real estate commissions had been decent lately, but not blow a grand on a spa weekend decent. I checked our joint credit card statements online. No charges to the Zenith, but there was a $500 cash advance from 3 days ago that she'd never mentioned. Derek was paying for her room. Derek was paying for my wife's room while she played house with him and posted about her independence for the world to see. I made a list, not a blacklist. I'm not a psychopath. A consequences list. Because actions have consequences, and Cassandra was about to learn that lesson the hard way. First, I needed more information. I called my buddy Mitch, who works in IT at a different company but shares my appreciation for creative problem-solving and craft beer. "Dude, you sound weird," Mitch said when he picked up. "What's going on?" "Hypothetically," I said, "if someone wanted to document a spouse's infidelity for divorce proceedings, what would be the most legal way to go about it?" Long pause. "Oh, shit. Cassandra?" "Hypothetically." "Okay, hypothetically you'd want photos, financial records, witness statements, maybe hire a private investigator. You'd want everything documented and dated. And hypothetically, you'd want to protect your own assets first. Hypothetically, how would someone do that? Move money to individual accounts, document all joint assets, change passwords on everything, and maybe start sleeping with a voice recorder app running. You know, hypothetically." I spent the rest of the day following Mitch's hypothetical advice. I opened a new checking account at a different bank and transferred half our savings, my legal right as a joint account holder. I changed the passwords on all our streaming services, our home security system, and our shared cloud storage. I downloaded 8 years of photos, documents, and financial records. Then I waited. Cassandra came home Sunday evening, glowing with what she probably thought was spa treatment radiance, but looked more like post-orgasmic satisfaction to me. She hugged me and smelled like expensive cologne that definitely wasn't mine. "How was the spa, honey?" I asked, kissing her forehead. "Oh, it was exactly what I needed," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Just pure relaxation. You should try it sometime." "Maybe I will. Which spa was it again?" Brief hesitation. "Serenity Springs, up in the mountains. No cell service, which is why I couldn't call much." Serenity Springs was a real place. I'd looked it up. It was also 3 hours north of the Zenith Resort and cost half as much. My wife wasn't just a cheater. She was a lazy liar. "Sounds peaceful," I said. "I'm glad you got what you needed." That night she fell asleep quickly, probably exhausted from her weekend of independence. I lay awake listening to her breathe and planning her destruction with the methodical precision that had made me good at my job. Because Cassandra had made one crucial mistake. She'd assumed I was the same passive, trusting husband who'd let her walk all over me for months. She'd assumed I'd never fight back. She was about to learn how wrong she was. Monday morning, I got up early and made Cassandra her favorite breakfast: avocado toast with everything bagel seasoning and a perfectly crafted latte. I kissed her goodbye and told her I loved her, just like I had every morning for 8 years. The difference was, now I was lying too. At work, I couldn't concentrate on code. Instead, I researched Washington state divorce laws, community property division, and adultery documentation requirements. Washington is a no-fault divorce state, which meant Cassandra's affair wouldn't automatically give me a financial advantage, but it could influence custody decisions if we'd had kids, and it would definitely help in negotiations. More importantly, I learned about something called dissipation of marital assets. If I could prove Cassandra was spending our money on her affair, I might be able to recover those funds in the divorce settlement. I started a spreadsheet. Every unexplained charge, every late night, every lie got documented with dates and details. The cash advance for her spa weekend. The new lingerie I'd found in her drawer, tags still on, from a boutique that cost more than my monthly car payment. The sudden interest in expensive restaurants and craft cocktails. That evening, Cassandra announced she was going out with Tiffany for girls' night. "Again?" I asked, keeping my voice light. "You just got back from your trip." "I know, but Tiff is going through a rough patch with Brad. She needs support." Another lie. Tiffany had been single for 6 months and posted about it constantly. "Of course, have fun. Don't wait up for me. I've got some coding to catch up on." She kissed my cheek and left, wearing a dress I'd never seen before. I waited exactly 10 minutes, then checked Find My Friends. Her phone was at Belltown Bistro, an upscale place downtown. I drove over and parked across the street. Through the window, I could see her at a corner table with Derek. No Tiffany in sight. They were leaning close, his hand covering hers on the table. She was laughing at something he'd said, throwing her head back in that way she used to do when we first started dating. I took photos with my phone, making sure to capture the timestamp and location. Then I went home and added the evidence to my growing file. This became my routine. Cassandra would lie about her plans, and I'd document the truth. She told me she was working late. She was at Derek's condo. She claimed to be at the gym. She was shopping for clothes I'd never see her wear at home. She said she was having lunch with her mother. She was at a hotel bar with her lover. Each lie made the next part of my plan easier to justify. I started making my own moves. I transferred more money to my individual account, not enough to trigger alerts, just a few hundred here and there. I quietly moved my direct deposit to the new account. I made copies of all our important documents and stored them in a safety deposit box she didn't know about. I also started changing our shared services. I downgraded our cable package, claiming budget concerns. I switched our cell phone plan to one with limited data, saying my company was cutting expenses. Small inconveniences that would become bigger problems later. The hardest part was acting normal at home. Cassandra was actually nicer to me during this period, probably because the affair was making her feel guilty. She'd bring me coffee while I worked, suggest we watch movies together, even initiate closeness a couple of times, though she kept her eyes closed and seemed to be thinking about someone else. I played along because I needed time to prepare, but every fake smile, every pretend laugh, every "I love you too" added fuel to the fire building inside me. 3 weeks into my investigation, Tiffany made a crucial mistake. She posted an Instagram story from inside Derek's condo. I recognized the distinctive exposed brick wall from my surveillance photos. The story showed Cassandra and Derek cooking together, with the caption, "Double date night. These two are so cute together." She deleted it within an hour, but I'd already screenshot it. More importantly, she'd tagged the location, giving me Derek's exact address. That night, Cassandra told me she was working late on a big listing. "Which property?" I asked casually. "The Morrison house on Capitol Hill. Lots of paperwork to review." I knew she was lying because I'd driven past the Morrison house that afternoon. It had a bright red "sold" sign in the yard. After she left, I sat in our living room, surrounded by the furniture we'd picked out together, the photos from our honeymoon in Italy, the wedding gifts we'd never used. 8 years of marriage reduced to evidence in a divorce file. I opened my laptop and started typing an email to a divorce attorney Mitch had recommended. Then I stopped and deleted it. I wasn't ready for lawyers yet. I was ready for something much more satisfying. I was ready to destroy the woman who thought I was too stupid to notice she was destroying me. The opportunity came gift-wrapped with a bow, courtesy of Cassandra's own arrogance. She'd been getting sloppy, staying out later, lying more obviously, treating me like a roommate she barely tolerated. The guilt phase had ended, replaced by something that looked almost like contempt. She'd check her phone during dinner, smile at messages she wouldn't explain, and talk about finding herself and exploring new opportunities. "I think I need more space," she announced one Thursday evening, not looking up from her phone. "Maybe we should consider a trial separation." I nearly choked on my beer. "A separation? Where is this coming from?" "I've been doing a lot of thinking, Julian. We've grown apart. We want different things. Maybe some time apart would help us figure out what we really want." What she really wanted was to move in with Derek without the messy complications of divorce proceedings. What she wanted was to keep me as a safety net while she played house with her upgrade. "If that's what you think is best," I said carefully. "Have you thought about the logistics? Who moves out? How we handle the mortgage, that kind of thing?" She finally looked at me, and I saw something that made me freeze. Relief. She'd expected me to fight, to beg, to make it difficult. Instead, I was making it easy, just like I always did. I was thinking I could stay with Tiffany for a while, just temporarily, until we figure things out. Tiffany's apartment was a studio that barely fit one person. Cassandra would be staying with Derek, obviously, but she needed the Tiffany story for plausible deniability. "Okay," I said. "When were you thinking of doing this?" "Maybe this weekend. I know it's sudden, but I think clean breaks are better than dragging things out." I nodded thoughtfully. "You're probably right. Take whatever you need." The confusion in her eyes was almost worth the months of lies. She'd been prepared for anger, tears, desperate attempts to save our marriage. She wasn't prepared for cooperation. That night, after she fell asleep, I made my final preparations. I transferred the last of my money out of our joint accounts, leaving exactly enough to cover the mortgage and utilities for 1 month. I changed the passwords on everything, Netflix, Spotify, Amazon Prime, the home security system, even the grocery delivery service. I printed out every piece of evidence I'd gathered and organized it into a neat folder labeled Cassandra's Independence Project. Friday evening, she packed 2 suitcases with her best clothes and most expensive jewelry. "I'll come back for the rest of my things later," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Take your time. I'll be here." She hugged me goodbye, a brief, awkward embrace that felt like a period at the end of a very long sentence. "I do love you, Julian. I hope you know that. This isn't about not loving you." "I know," I said, because I did know. It wasn't about love. It was about her thinking she could do better and not caring enough about me to end things honestly before starting something new. I watched her drive away, her car loaded with the life she was abandoning for her independence. Then I went inside and opened a very expensive bottle of wine we'd been saving for a special occasion. This seemed special enough. Saturday morning, I implemented phase 1 of my revenge plan. I went to Derek's gym, the upscale place downtown where he'd bragged about his membership at the Christmas party. I'd signed up for a day pass online, claiming I was considering joining. I found him at the bench press, grunting through a set that was probably 20 pounds more than he could actually handle safely. He was one of those guys who made a lot of noise to make sure everyone knew he was working out. I waited until he finished his set and sat up, sweating and red-faced. "Derek, right? From Pinnacle Realty?" He looked at me blankly for a moment, then recognition dawned. "Julian, Cassandra's husband. What are you doing here?" "Thinking about joining. Cassandra mentioned you recommended this place." I smiled, friendly. "Actually, I wanted to thank you." "Thank me?" "For helping her realize what she really wants. The separation was her idea, but I think you helped her find the courage to ask for what she needs." His face went through several interesting color changes. "I don't know what you mean." "Sure you do. The Zenith Resort, Belltown Bistro, your place on Pine Street with the exposed brick walls?" I kept smiling as his expression shifted from confusion to panic. "I'm not angry, Derek. I'm grateful. You helped me see who my wife really is." He stood up, trying to use his height advantage to intimidate me. "Look, man, I don't know what you think you know, but I know everything." I pulled out my phone and showed him one of the photos I'd taken. "Nice picture, right? You two look happy. Tiffany posts the cutest stories about your dates." "You're crazy." "No, I'm thorough. It's a software engineer thing. We document everything." I put my phone away. But like I said, I'm grateful. Cassandra deserves someone who appreciates her independence, and I deserve someone who doesn't think I'm too stupid to notice when she's lying. I started to walk away, then turned back. "Oh, and Derek? You might want to check with your company's ethics board about dating clients' spouses. I hear they're pretty strict about conflicts of interest." I left him standing there, looking like he'd been hit by a truck. Phase 1 complete. Derek's panic was almost immediate and absolutely delicious. By Monday morning, he'd called Cassandra 17 times. I know because she'd forgotten to change the password on our shared iCloud account, so I could see all her call logs and text messages. The texts were even better than the calls. "Your husband knows. We need to talk. He came to my gym. How did he find out? This is bad, Cass. Really bad. Call me back. We need to figure this out." Cassandra's responses were a masterpiece of denial and blame shifting. "Julian's not smart enough to figure anything out on his own. Someone must have told him. Probably that snake Jennifer from your office. Just calm down. He's bluffing. Even if he knows, what's he going to do? He's too passive to cause real problems." Too passive. That phrase appeared in several of her messages, along with variations like, "He'll get over it," and "He never fights back." She'd built her entire affair on the assumption that I was too weak to retaliate. She was about to learn how wrong she was. Tuesday morning, I made an anonymous call to Pinnacle Realty's ethics hotline. I didn't identify myself, just reported that one of their agents was having an affair with a client's spouse and might be using inside information to benefit his personal relationship. I mentioned Derek by name and suggested they might want to look into his recent dealings with married clients. That afternoon, Derek got called into his manager's office. Wednesday, I escalated things. I'd spent weeks documenting every restaurant they'd visited, every hotel they'd used, every dollar Cassandra had spent on their affair. The total came to just over $4,000, money that had come from our joint accounts to fund her betrayal. I compiled everything into a detailed report and sent it to her boss at Meridian Real Estate, along with copies of the photos and a polite note explaining that I was concerned about potential conflicts of interest between my wife and her competitor. I suggested they might want to review whether any confidential client information had been shared inappropriately. I also sent copies to the Real Estate Licensing Board, the Better Business Bureau, and 3 of Cassandra's biggest clients, people who'd trusted her with million-dollar transactions and deserved to know their agent was compromised. By Thursday, both Derek and Cassandra were in full crisis mode. Their text exchanges had shifted from romantic to desperate. My boss wants to see me tomorrow morning. They're asking about our relationship. Mine too. Someone sent them photos. This is your husband's fault. You said he was harmless. I never said harmless. I said passive. There's a difference. Well, your passive husband is destroying both our careers. We just need to deny everything. It's his word against ours. There are photos, Cassandra. Photos of us together. Hotel receipts. Credit card records. This isn't a he said, she said situation. Friday morning, Cassandra finally called me. I was at work, debugging a particularly stubborn piece of code, when her name appeared on my phone screen. Hello, sweetheart, I answered cheerfully. How's the separation going? What the hell did you do? Her voice was shaking with rage. I'm sorry? Don't play dumb, Julian. My boss wants to see me this afternoon. Someone sent them information about Derek and me. Was it you? Information about what? I thought you were staying with Tiffany. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Photos, receipts, call logs. Someone's been stalking us. Stalking is a strong word. I prefer documenting marital assets. It's important to keep good records during a separation. Long silence. When she spoke again, her voice was different, colder, more calculating. What do you want? Want? To make this go away. To stop whatever game you're playing. What do you want? I leaned back in my desk chair, savoring the moment. For months, she'd held all the cards. She'd had her affair, her lies, her plans for a new life, while I'd been the oblivious husband funding her betrayal. Now, suddenly, I was the one with power. I want my wife to come home and work on our marriage, I said. I want honesty. I want respect. I want the woman I married, not this stranger who thinks I'm too stupid to notice when she's lying. Julian, but since that woman doesn't exist anymore, I want a divorce. A fair divorce where we split our assets equitably and go our separate ways. No lawyers, no fighting, no drama, just a clean break. And if I agree to that, then maybe I stop sending information to people who might find it interesting. Maybe I decide I've documented enough evidence for the divorce proceedings. Another long silence. I need time to think. Of course. Take all the time you need. But Cassandra, every day you spend thinking is another day I spend organizing my files. I'm very thorough when I have time on my hands. I hung up and went back to my code, humming softly. The dominoes were falling exactly as I'd planned, but I wasn't done yet. Not even close. Cassandra's meeting with her boss didn't go well. I know because Tiffany, bless her social media-addicted heart, live-tweeted the entire aftermath without realizing she was giving me real-time intelligence on my own revenge plot. When your bestie gets called into the boss's office and doesn't come out for 2 hours. Update, she's out but won't talk about it, just sitting in her car crying. This is not good. Taking her for emergency margaritas? Some days you just need tequila and good friends. The margaritas led to more social media oversharing. Tiffany posted a video story of Cassandra, clearly drunk, ranting about controlling husbands and privacy violations and men who can't handle strong women. The video was shaky and hard to follow, but one part came through crystal clear. He thinks he's so smart with his computers and his spreadsheets. Like tracking me makes him some kind of detective. Julian's still the same boring loser I married, just with better documentation skills. I screenshot the video before Tiffany sobered up and deleted it. Derek's situation was even worse. His company had put him on administrative leave, pending a full investigation into his client relationships. Word was spreading through Seattle's tight-knit real estate community that he was under review for ethics violations. In a business built on trust and reputation, that was basically a final verdict. He was spiraling, sending increasingly desperate messages to Cassandra. "We need to talk, in person, tonight. This is getting out of hand. Maybe we should just come clean. My career is over if this gets out publicly. Over. Your husband is destroying both of us. We have to do something." That last message worried me. Desperate people do stupid things, and Derek was definitely desperate. I decided it was time to end this before it escalated into something dangerous. Saturday evening, I drove to Derek's condo. I'd been there several times during my surveillance, so I knew his schedule. He usually went for a run at sunset, then came home to shower and order takeout. Predictable habits, another thing that made him a poor choice for an affair partner. I parked across the street and waited. Sure enough, at 6:30 p.m., he emerged in running gear and headed toward the waterfront trail. I gave him a 10-minute head start, then walked up to his building. The security was laughably bad, just a keypad entry that I'd watched him use multiple times. I punched in the code and took the elevator to the 8th floor. His condo was exactly what I'd expected. Generic luxury furniture, motivational posters about success and achievement, and a kitchen that clearly belonged to someone who lived on protein shakes and takeout. The exposed brick wall from Tiffany's photos dominated the living room, along with a massive TV and sound system that probably cost more than my car. I didn't break anything. I didn't steal anything. I just left a small gift on his coffee table, a manila folder containing every photo, every receipt, every piece of evidence I'd gathered about his affair with my wife. The cover page was a simple note. "Derek, thanks for taking such good care of my wife during her journey toward independence. I thought you'd like to have copies of all the beautiful memories you've made together. I've shared these with a few other people who might find them interesting, but don't worry. I'm sure your employer and your clients will be very understanding. After all, everyone deserves love, right? Julian P.S. You might want to change your entry code. It's surprisingly easy to figure out if you watch someone use it a few times." I was back in my car before he returned from his run. I waited across the street, engine running, until I saw the lights come on in his 8th floor window. Then I saw his silhouette appear at the window, looking down at the street. I flashed my headlights twice and drove away. My phone rang 20 minutes later. "You snake!" Derek's voice was shaking with rage. "Breaking and entering is a felony. Good thing I didn't break anything then. Your building really should upgrade that security system, though. Very unsafe. You can't do this. I'll call the police." "And tell them what? That someone left you a folder of photos showing you having an affair with a married woman? I'm sure they'll be very sympathetic. This is harassment. This is consequences. You made a choice to sleep with my wife. I made a choice to document it. You made a choice to destroy my marriage. I made a choice to destroy your career. Seems fair to me. What do you want?" It was the same question Cassandra had asked, and I gave him the same answer. "I want you to leave my wife alone. Permanently. I want you to find a new job, preferably in a different city, and I want you to think very carefully about the kind of person you want to be going forward. And if I don't? Then I keep sharing my documentation with people who might find it professionally relevant." Real estate is a small community, Derek. Word travels fast. I hung up and drove home to my empty house, feeling lighter than I had in months. But I still wasn't finished. The best part was yet to come. Sunday morning brought the text I'd been waiting for. "We need to talk. I'm coming over." Cassandra arrived at noon, looking like she hadn't slept in days. Her usually perfect hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, her makeup couldn't quite hide the dark circles under her eyes, and she was wearing sweatpants, something I hadn't seen her do in public in years. "You look terrible," I said, opening the door. "Come in." She pushed past me into the living room, then turned to face me with an expression I'd never seen before. Pure, concentrated hatred. "You bastard. You absolute bastard." "I love you too, sweetheart. Can I get you some coffee? You look like you need it." "Don't you dare act casual with me. Do you have any idea what you've done?" I sat down in my favorite chair, the one she'd always complained was too ugly for the living room, and gestured for her to sit. She remained standing, hands clenched into fists. "I've documented my wife's affair and protected my financial interests during a separation. Pretty standard stuff, really." "Standard? You've destroyed 2 careers, Julian. 2 lives. Derek might lose his real estate license. My boss is reviewing my client relationships and considering whether I'm a good fit for the company culture. Do you understand what that means?" "It means actions have consequences." "Novel concept, I know." She started pacing, her voice getting higher and more frantic. "This isn't about consequences. This is about you being a vindictive, controlling asshole who can't handle the fact that I outgrew our marriage." "Outgrew it? Is that what we're calling adultery now?" "I never meant for it to happen with Derek. It just developed naturally. We connected on a professional level, then it became personal. These things happen, Julian. People change. People grow apart. People also get divorced before they start sleeping with other people. But maybe that's just my old-fashioned upbringing." She flinched at the profanity. I never swore at her, even during arguments. It was one of my rules. Keep things civil. Keep things calm. Don't escalate. But my rules had changed along with everything else. "I was going to tell you," she said. "The separation was the first step. I was trying to do this the right way." "The right way would have been 8 months ago, before you started spending our money on hotel rooms and fancy dinners with your boyfriend. The right way would have been before you made me look like an idiot in front of everyone we know. I never made you look like anything. You did that yourself by stalking us like some kind of obsessed ex-boyfriend." I pulled out my phone and showed her Tiffany's Instagram story from the Zenith Resort, the one that had started everything. "Your best friend posted this publicly, Cassandra. You weren't hiding your affair. You were celebrating it. The only person who didn't know was the stupid husband paying for your independence." She stared at the phone screen, her face going pale. I told her to be careful about what she posted. Apparently, be careful doesn't translate well to someone whose brain runs on likes and shares. But that's not really the point, is it? The point is that you were so confident I'd never find out, or so sure I'd never do anything about it if I did, that you got sloppy. What do you want, Julian? You want me to beg? You want me to apologize? Fine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I lied. I'm sorry I handled this badly. Is that what you need to hear? What I needed was a wife who respected me enough to end our marriage before starting a new relationship. What I needed was honesty. What I needed was basic human decency. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the neighborhood where we'd planned to raise children someday. But what I want now is much simpler, which is, I want you to experience the same humiliation you put me through. I want you to know what it feels like when everyone you work with, everyone you socialize with, everyone in your professional network knows exactly what kind of person you really are. You've already done that. Derek's career is over. Mine might be too. Isn't that enough? I turned back to face her, and she took a step backward at whatever she saw in my expression. That's just the beginning, Cassandra. See, I've had a lot of time to think while you were exploring your independence. And I realized something important. You didn't just cheat on me. You disrespected me. You made me complicit in my own humiliation by lying to my face every day while spending my money on your affair. Our money. It was our money. My paycheck, my direct deposit, my work that paid for Derek's hotel rooms and your new lingerie and all those romantic dinners I'll never get back. I smiled, and she took another step backward. But here's the beautiful part. I've been documenting everything. Every dollar you spent, every lie you told, every text message you sent, and tomorrow I'm sharing all of it. Sharing it with who? Everyone. Your mother, my parents, our friends, your clients, your co-workers, that book club you joined last year, the neighbors, our college alumni network, basically everyone in both our contact lists. A comprehensive report on your journey toward independence, complete with photos, receipts, and a detailed timeline. The color drained from her face completely. You can't do that. I can and I will. I'm calling it Cassandra's Independence Day, a case study in modern marriage. Very thorough, very well documented, very shareable. Julian, please, think about what you're doing. This will follow me forever. Every future employer, every potential client, every person I meet will be able to find this online. Should have thought about that before you decided I was too passive to fight back. She collapsed onto the couch, finally understanding the scope of what was coming. What do you want? Really, truly, what do you want to make this stop? I sat down across from her, close enough to see the tears starting to form in her eyes. I want you to understand that actions have consequences. I want you to experience the same humiliation you put me through. And I want everyone who knows us to understand exactly who ended our marriage and why. And then what? After you destroy my life completely, then what? Then we get divorced, split our assets, and go our separate ways. You can start fresh somewhere else, maybe with Derek if he's still speaking to you after his career implodes. And I can find someone who actually respects me enough not to cheat. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks in black streams. I did love you, Julian. I still do, in my way. This wasn't about not loving you. No, it was about not respecting me. And that's so much worse. I stood up and walked toward the door. You should probably call Derek. Let him know what's coming. Professional courtesy and all that. Julian, wait. Please. Isn't there anything I can do? Any way to fix this? I paused with my hand on the doorknob and looked back at her, this woman I'd loved for 8 years, now broken and desperate on our couch. You could have fixed it 8 months ago by being honest. You could have fixed it 6 months ago by ending the affair. You could have fixed it last week by taking responsibility instead of blaming me for discovering your lies. I opened the door. But you chose independence instead. Congratulations, Cassandra. You got exactly what you wanted. I left her there and drove to Mitch's house to finalize the last phase of my plan. Tomorrow, everyone would know the truth about my wife's independence. And then, finally, it would be over. I sent the emails at 6 a.m. on Monday morning, timed to hit inboxes, just as people were starting their workday. The subject line was simple. The truth about my marriage. The message was longer, a detailed factual account of Cassandra's affair, complete with timestamps, financial records, and carefully selected photos that told the story without being gratuitously invasive. I'd spent hours crafting the tone, disappointed rather than angry, factual rather than emotional, more sad than vindictive. The response was immediate and overwhelming. My phone started ringing before 7 a.m. Cassandra's mother called first, screaming about airing dirty laundry and destroying her daughter's reputation. I let it go to voicemail. Then my own parents called, offering support and asking if I needed anything. Then friends, co-workers, neighbors, distant relatives who'd somehow ended up on the distribution list. By 9 a.m., the story was spreading beyond my original email. People were forwarding it, discussing it, adding their own commentary. Social media picked it up when someone posted screenshots on Facebook. The real estate community was buzzing with gossip about Derek and Cassandra's affair. Tiffany, predictably, tried to control the narrative with a series of Instagram posts, defending her friend and attacking me as a controlling narcissist who couldn't handle his wife's growth and independence. But the comments section turned against her when people started sharing their own stories about discovering infidelity and recognizing the patterns I'd documented. Derek called at 10 a.m., his voice barely controlled rage. "You've destroyed everything. Everything. My company fired me this morning. My clients are dropping me. My ex-wife is using this in our custody case. I hope you're happy." "I'm getting there," I said honestly. "This isn't over. I'll sue you for harassment, defamation, invasion of privacy, whatever it takes." Good luck with that. Everything I shared was factually accurate and well documented. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation claims. He hung up, but the calls kept coming. Some supportive, some critical, some just curious about the details. I answered the supportive ones and let the rest go to voicemail. Cassandra didn't call until noon. "Are you satisfied now?" Her voice was hollow, defeated, getting closer. "I lost 3 clients this morning. 3 major listings gone. My boss called an hour ago. They're restructuring my role to focus on internal projects until this blows over. We both know what that means. It means you're experiencing consequences for your choices. Novel concept. My mother won't speak to me. Your parents sent me a text saying they're disappointed but not surprised. Half our friends are taking sides, and most of them are taking yours. Even Tiffany is starting to distance herself because the backlash is affecting her social media brand. Sounds rough. Derek blames me for everything. Says I should have been more careful, should have controlled you better, should have seen this coming. He's talking about moving to Portland to start over. Probably a good idea. Fresh start and all that." Long silence. When she spoke again, her voice was different, smaller, more vulnerable than I'd heard it in years. "I know you hate me. I know you'll never forgive me. But can you please take down the emails? Or at least stop them from spreading? I get it, Julian. I understand what I did wrong. I've learned my lesson." "Have you?" "Yes. God, yes. I understand that I hurt you, that I disrespected our marriage, that I handled everything badly. I understand that you're not the passive pushover I thought you were. I understand that actions have consequences." "And what are you going to do with that understanding?" "I don't know. Start over somewhere else, I guess. Try to rebuild my career and my reputation. Try to become a better person." I looked around my empty house, our house, soon to be just my house, and felt something unexpected. Not satisfaction exactly, but a kind of closure I hadn't expected. "Cassandra?" "Yeah?" "I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. No fault, 50-50 split of assets, no alimony, clean and simple." "Okay?" "And I'm not taking down the emails. What's done is done, but I'm also not sending any more. This ends here. Thank you." "Don't thank me. This isn't forgiveness. This isn't mercy. This is just enough. I got what I needed." "Which was?" I thought about it for a moment, trying to put into words the feeling that had been building for months. I needed to stop being the victim in my own life. I needed to prove, to you, to myself, to everyone, that I'm not someone who can be walked all over without consequences. I needed you to understand that I'm not the boring, passive husband you married. I'm someone who fights back when pushed too far. You definitely proved that. Good. Maybe your next husband will benefit from the lesson." She laughed, a sound somewhere between humor and hysteria. "I don't think there's going to be a next husband. I think I need to figure out how to be alone before I try to be with someone else." "Probably a good idea." "Julian?" "Yeah?" "For what it's worth, I am sorry. Not just sorry I got caught, sorry for what I did. I loved you and I threw it away for something that wasn't even real. Derek was never going to leave his comfortable life for me. I was just convenient. I know. Do you think someday we might be able to be friends? Not now, obviously, but maybe someday? I considered the question seriously. Could I ever forgive her enough for friendship? Could I ever trust her enough for even casual contact? I don't know, Cassandra. Maybe. But not for a very long time. I understand. Take care of yourself. Try to learn from this. I will. And Julian, congratulations. For what? For winning. For fighting back. For not being the person I thought you were. She hung up, and I sat in the quiet house, processing the strangest compliment I'd ever received. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. Cassandra had moved to Portland, where Derek had indeed started over with a new real estate company. They weren't together. Apparently, mutual career destruction isn't a strong foundation for romance. Tiffany had actually reached out to apologize, admitting that her social media addiction had made everything worse and that she'd been a terrible friend to both of us. She was in therapy now, working on her relationship with validation and attention. I kept the house, along with most of our mutual friends who'd decided that adultery was a deal-breaker, regardless of the circumstances. My parents were proud of how I'd handled things, though my mother still occasionally suggested I'd been a little harsh. My father, on the other hand, had started telling the story to his golf buddies as an example of how nice guys don't always finish last. I was dating again. Nothing serious yet, but I'd met a few interesting women who seemed to appreciate directness and honesty. Turns out, confidence is attractive, even when it comes from successfully orchestrating your cheating wife's social destruction. The best part, though, was how I felt about myself. For 8 years, I'd been the accommodating husband, the one who avoided conflict, who made excuses for other people's bad behavior, who prioritized peace over self-respect. Cassandra's affair had forced me to become someone different, someone who fought back, someone who demanded respect, someone who refused to be a victim. I liked this version of myself much better. On the first anniversary of discovering Cassandra's affair, the day I now privately called Independence Day, I raised a glass of that expensive wine we'd been saving and toasted my empty house. To independence, I said aloud, and to never again being too passive to claim what I deserve. Outside, Seattle's summer evening was perfect. Clear skies, warm air, the kind of night that makes you grateful to be alive and free and exactly where you're supposed to be. I had learned something important about myself during those months of planning and executing my revenge. I wasn't the man I thought I was. I was stronger, smarter, and much more dangerous when pushed too far. Cassandra had wanted independence. In the end, we'd both gotten exactly what we needed.